Okay, share screen. That's important. All right, there you go. So there's your first example for today. This isn't, I mean, it's kind of more of the same, but it's got a new twist, and you'll notice what that twist is as soon as you start thinking about the problem. You'll see. Today is the 18th, and we can call this like more word problems. And the key to today is that there are 3 unknowns. So yesterday, remember, it was just 2 numbers, the sum of 2 numbers. Now we have 3. So I've got 2 examples of this, and I hope when I'm done that you understand why we have 2 examples and not just 1. They each pose slightly different dilemmas. I don't think that I did a good enough job during your class yesterday of stressing to you that there are clear-cut 4 steps to the process. You probably walked away and understood that to some extent, but I think it was on me to do a better job of explaining that there are 4 steps, and they all need to be followed. So as you finish writing this down, I'll ask you, because I have no idea what you took out of the lesson. I think I did a better job throughout the day, so apologies for that. What is step 1 of this process that we talk about? Do you remember? Go ahead. Yeah, declare your variables. We need to set out and say who's going to be my X. Like when all is said and done, I need an X. I need a base unknown character. And so that's going to be step 1. And I wrote it in red all the time yesterday. Not that you probably noticed that, but I always would say let X equal this and then let this equal this. That's called the variable declaration step. And that's step 1. It's muy importante. So when you read this problem, the same sort of question as yesterday, it's kind of next level, but it's still the same idea. Of the 3 numbers, who are we talking about the least? Definitely the first. If you read about the second sentence, it describes that the second number is blah, 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 then the first. And then the next half of that sentence goes on to say, and the third number is blah, 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 then the first. So clearly, at no point in this problem is there a direct description given of the first number. That's going to be our X. I hope you agree. So we'll start the process here. And I know there's 3 variables, well, 3 unknowns, but that's okay. So we're going to start by saying let X equal the first number. We always want the one that we know the least about to be our X, because then we can build upon that. We can use that X to build descriptions then of the other ones. So I'm going to write this down. I'm going to write let blank equal the second number. And I'll leave it blank here for just a minute. And then I'm also going to write let blank equal the third number. So this time we have 3 declarations instead of 2. So having gotten through yesterday, can you guys give me a description, an algebraic description, Bryce, of the second number? Very good. If the second number is 6 less than the first, then he is first, or X minus 6. Good job. And then, of course, the third number, someone want to give me a description? Tegan? Very good. So really not that big a deal for this first example. We're basing everything off of the one that we know the least about. So I want to be clear because I'm sure you didn't go home and rewatch the video. I don't know why you would have done that, but I want to be very clear that this is step one of the 4-step process. All right, and that's not up for negotiation or debate. That's just what we do with word problems. We tell the world what we're looking for, we give them names, and that's that. Clear? Okay. Do you guys remember what step 2 is? Right? Write an equation, right? And that equation has to be what we call algebraic. It has to involve the variables that we've laid out. This is where the guesswork gets taken out. And so the key here is to understand that the sum of all of the numbers is 106. And so that means that when I add all three of them together, I should get 106. So what's that going to look like? Anyone on this side of the room? I mean, I don't mind always calling on these guys, but anyone? Yeah. Sebastian? Absolutely perfect. And that comes quite literally from the fact that the sum of all of them is 106. I'll underline them for you. There's the first number, there's the second number, and there's the third number. And notice that we've got plus signs in between them because that's what the sum is. Good job. And now that is step 2. I'm going to label a little bit more specifically for you today. You don't have to label. I just wanted to get a couple into your notes where I did a better job. So step 2 is complete. Do you remember what step 3 is? Bryce? Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, it's just solve the darn equation, right? I mean, do the math. And so, yes, we're going to combine like terms. We're going to move stuff around. I mean, we're going to do all the stuff that we've been doing. So when I put all my x's together on the left, how many do I get? And when I combine my constant terms, that's what we call the ones that don't have variables. What do we get? So plus 13. And then, of course, the next step is to take away 13 from both sides. What do we get? 93. Last step is to divide by 3, and we get x equals 31. So who did we just find? The first number. Very good. So we should now be able to say everything that we need, and then we'll decide when we're done, we'll put a package kind of around what we deem to be our final answer. So to be clear, all of this math is step 3. Step 4 now is to step out and remember that no one asked us about x. No one asked us about an equation. That's us. So step 4 is to walk out and say, okay, I'm going to give you some information now that you asked for. So let's make a list here. The first number is 31. The second number is 25. It has to be because we know that it's 6 less than the first number, and 6 less than 31 is 25. And then what's the third number? Yes, and we know that because it's 19 more than the first number, and 31 plus 19 is 50. So this is all part of step 4. Step 4 in its final state is to say, let me go back and answer the question. And the question wasn't what are all the numbers? The question was just what is the second number? And I want to be clear that when you present your answer, don't present it like this. I mean, that's all great information to have, but as a like, here it is, Mr. Ahern, my answer is in a box there. I want to be clear that I'm answering the direct question that was asked to me. Any questions on that one? Okay, one more, and this one will just have a little bit of a slightly different twist to it, and then I'll be done with you, and you can just have tons of work time after this. So, gather a couple, a whoople, and a goople cost $930. A whoople costs $110 more than a goople. And a goople costs twice as much. as a Whoople. How much does a Goople cost? I know these are a pain to write down. I appreciate you taking the time to do it. Have you figured out yet why this is different than the first one? No, not necessarily that. I mean, I see what you mean, but it's not about the twice as much. What's the issue here, Sebastian? I Right, and that I understand that you're in a tough spot there trying to find the words for this. Even I, who do this for a living, will struggle to find the words. But as you read the second sentence, kind of try to follow the logic here. A description is given of a Whoople, but its description is relative to a Coople. So if this were like the first problem, then when I described the Goople, I would also describe it relative to a Coople. That would be like going back to the first problem, how the second number was described relative to the first, and then the third number was also described relative to the first. So we were able to use that X as the foundation for everything that we did. In this case, though, it's sort of this weird thing where the second item purchased is described relative to the first, and then the third item purchased is described relative to the second. It's like, whoa. But we got this. It's okay. So the first question, it will never change, and that is, which item is never really described? The Coople. I agree. And so that's got to be our X because there's a description given of the Whoople and there's a description given of a Goople, but at no point are you ever explicitly told that a Coople costs blah, 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 blah. So that we want to be our base. So we're definitely going to let our X equal the cost of a Coople. And now I'm going to complete my declarations, only I'm going to leave a blank like I did. So the next one that I want to define or declare is the cost of a Whoople. And then the last one is going to be let blank equal the cost of a Goople. So the order that we do these in is going to be what's important here. Like if you try to define a Goople right now, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So we have to kind of start with what we know based on the Goople. So the first description given, I'll underline it in blue for you, is right here, that a Whoople is 110 more than a Coople. So can we write a description for the Whoople? What's it going to be, Tegan? So it's definitely going to be X plus 110. So it's the cost of the Coople, the base cost, if you will, but we have to add 110 to that. And this is where I think it could get a little tricky, but I hope you walk away from this and feel like I can do this. And I'm going to leave myself a little bit more room for this one. So this could be tricky. Watch out. I have to come up with a description of the Goople. You see that it's not relative to X this time. It's relative to something else. Sebastian? Yes, I just saw him first. Sorry, you were next in the queue. Good job. We need parentheses for this. So the thing is, great job and good job reasoning through that. You guys who figured that out, that we're twice as much now as something that's already been described. And so we're the cost of, and I'm going to switch colors for this one because I think it's a little bit trickier. Where the cost of, remember, the Goople is twice as much as a Whoople. So that means I take the cost of the Whoople, which is X plus 110, but I need parentheses because I need to double that cost like that. So this is trickier because, again, we're basing our third description on a previous already made description. Great job there. And again, that completes step 1. So you'll see that in the second page, or you'll get to the second page today, I'm just sure you will. And as you get through there later on in it, you'll start seeing these triple problems where the description is not all based on one thing. Second one describes the first, third describes the second. It's like this chain reaction, if you will. What's step 2? Write an equation. That's always going to be step 2. So take all the pieces that you have and build an algebraic equation out of it. And again, it comes really down to the logic that all the things added together cost 930. It says so in the first sentence. And so, I mean, really, if you think about it, it's something plus something plus something equals 930 bucks. I mean, we're straight up told that in the first sentence. So cost of a Couple is X. Cost of a Whoople is X plus 110. Cost of a Goople is 2 times X plus 110. And it's quite literally, I mean, it can be simple if you follow the process. Just be patient with the process and just let it happen. Step 2 is complete. We have our equation. What's step 3? Solve it, do the math, right? And in this case, I've got a little bit of distribution to do. So I have X plus 110 plus 2X plus 220 equals 930. We know that clearing parentheses has just generally got to be what we do first. And at this point now, it's time to put your like terms together. How many X's will we get on the left? Definitely 4. Plus 330 equals 930. You don't have to agree with this, but I think subconsciously, or whether you admit it or not, you will. A problem like this is very daunting if you don't have the algebraic tool set. It's tough figuring out 3 things that cost 930 with all those weird descriptions, but we're there. When we subtract 330 from both sides, we get 4x equals 600. And if you divide 600 by 4, you get x equals a perfect 150. So again, it's imperative. Remember, that was step 3. It's imperative now that we understand that there's a question that needs to be answered here. And the question is what, how much? So we should always list everything, and then we'll select what we want to produce an answer. Put a box around only what we need. So the first item described was the Couple. So the Couple is 150 bucks. So Couple, so a Couple costs 150 bucks. The second item described was the Whoople. How much does a Whoople cost? And we know that not because we're wizards, but because it's 110 more than the Couple. And then how much finally will the Goople cost? Yes, and we know that again, not through some power of sorcery, but because it's explicitly told to us that it costs twice as much as its predecessor, the Whoople. And so 2 times 260 is 520. And at this point, to complete step 4, we want to go back and actually read the question. And the question was, how much does a Goople cost? And so at this point, the Goople, being what I'm interested in, will get my box. The box should be presented only around the question or the answer to the question that was directly asked of you. Does that make sense? All right, short and sweet today. Nice short notes. The rest of today, and I presume probably all of tomorrow, will be work time for you. The goal here is to try to get all 3 pages done now. So we'll call, would you guys be sad if we just called assignment 13 the whole packet? Was that okay with you if we just do it that way? That's simpler, isn't it? I don't know what I was doing yesterday. So let's just say assignment 13 is the whole packet. Just one big thing. Good? All right, great.